Hello and welcome to the inaugural episode of What's Happening on Squam, brought to you by the Squam Lakes Association. I'm your host, Cole Beale, and I am a Lakes Region Conservation Corps member serving at the SLA. For this episode, I'm joined by fellow LRCC member, Stevie Raymond.
Why, hello.
Hello, Stevie. How are you?
Doing pretty good. Would you like me to tell you about the LRCC program?
Please.
Okay. Well, the program is an AmeriCorps-based service program that focuses on environmental conservation. We primarily perform our efforts within the Squam Lakes watershed, but we do have other members around the Lakes region, so that's kind of a good way to extend our reach a little bit. We do many different tasks, but mostly we do the removal of invasive species, both terrestrial and within the water. We maintain trails, lead volunteers, provide educational programs, so pretty much just educating the public on all of our conservation initiatives.
We kind of do a lot.
We do a decent amount.
We get to do the fun stuff. The stuff outside.
Yeah. The world is our office.
That was beautiful.
Thank you.
Every couple of weeks, we will get you an episode that discusses different work that is being done at the SLA. We'll review recent events and interview different members of the SLA community. After you're done listening to this episode, please go to the survey link in the description and tell us your thoughts. Did you like the podcast? Do you like the idea of the podcast? And what would you like to hear? And what could we do better? Let us know. Any and all feedback from you is huge. If you are on social media and you're not following us, please go like us on Facebook, Squam Lakes Association, and follow us on Instagram, @Squam Lakes Assoc. You can also get in direct contact with the show by sending me an email, cole@squamlakes.org. Feel free to send me any questions you have or things you would like us to talk about on upcoming shows. For more information on the SLA or on anything we talk about today, visit our website, www.squamlakes.org. All of these links and web pages previously mentioned are included in the description.
You have a really good radio voice.
You think so?
Yeah.
That makes me feel good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, why don't you tell me a little bit about last Thursday? You had a kind of a long day. You did some trail work. How'd that go?
Went pretty well.
Yeah?
I'll preface it by saying that the day started out with a little bit of a surprise. For those of you who don't know, there's 4 boys in the cottage. Myself, Cole, Alex, and John. John is a bit of an early bird. And even though Alex isn't, Alex still feels the need to set, 6 alarms starting at 7:30 in the morning. That day, he only had 1 go off, so that was pretty...
It's a nice surprise.
Yeah, it was pretty interesting. It was a good start to the morning.
Yeah, you keeping a running tally of those?
We are now.
Yeah.
But we ended up going up Doublehead that day and getting up to the Crawford Ridgepole Trail and eventually making our way over to Mount Squam. And it was pretty good. It was pretty warm outside. It was a little cold in the morning, but eventually it warmed right up. And it got to a point where we didn't even need to have our sweaters or anything else on, just kind of down to our t-shirts because how much we were sweating. But it was pretty good. The hike back was a lot of fun, though. It wasn't really a hike. It was more of a slide because of all the snow melt that was going on because it was so hot out. So that added a bit of fun to it as well.
It's always nice on the way back, too.
Yeah, because you get to see all the trail work you've done. You don't have to jump over that log that's there anymore or duck underneath a branch. So it's always good to be able to see all the progress that you've made and contributed to the great organization as a whole, as well as giving back to the community. It's a pretty great privilege.
What kind of stuff do you guys do that day?
Mostly lopping, blowdowns, and not too much, but there was a decent amount to do up on the ridge.
Yeah. Do you guys need snowshoes?
Not at first, but we did once we got up to the ridge, we did.
Is there still a lot of snow up there?
There's too much snow up there.
Is there? It's all going to melt. It's a muddy season.
There's 4 seasons in New England.
Tell me them.
Winter, summer, fall, and mud season.
Mud season. Well, you had a busy week, after your long trail work day. You had a nice Friday, but then you had 2 events, one on Saturday and one on Sunday. Forest forensics and still images on Squam.
Yeah, get it right.
What were those about and how'd they go?
They went really well. Both only had 2 participants come out, but still pretty good programs. Forest forensics was essentially about getting people on a hike out towards Five Finger Point in order to look at natural clues in the landscape to see what the history of land use was in the area. So, for example, we took a look at stone walls because certain stone walls are built certain ways that represent what kind of area it was. So it could have represented, a pasture field versus a crop field, whether or not it housed cattle or sheep. So it was really good. And it's kind of just nice to know the backstory of the land that we're helping to conserve, because it just adds a little bit of a deeper layer to why we're doing it.
I've always thought it was really cool, when you are out hiking, to see the stone walls and those things, because, it wasn't too long ago that this area was relatively flat. You see all these trees and these trails and you think this has always been here, but, how long ago was it that majority of this land was used for farms?
I'm not positive, but most of the research I came upon, they talked about, it was usually a lot of the most recent abandonment of the farmland took place about 50 to 60 years ago. So
that's not that long ago at all.
No, not really. The trees, they grow pretty fast in areas.
That's really cool. And what about still images? How was that?
That one was pretty good too. Again, 2 participants. And they weren't from the area, so it was nice to get new people.
Yeah.
But essentially just think of the whole fruit bowl on a table scenario. But instead of drawing fruit bowls, we drew sticks and branches, stuffed animals, kind of anything that related to nature / the surrounding area. And we just sat in the great room, drew these different, exhibits, listened to some music, drank tea. The music was from the Lord of the Rings Shire music, which both of them were a huge fan of.
That's very nice drawing music.
Yeah. Yeah, it was pretty good. They said that they really enjoyed it, and they were hoping that we would do something like that again. It's always nice to meet people that aren't from around the area.
You had one participant who was a pretty good artist, would you say?
Yeah, no, this person, let me tell you, she was no amateur.
Yeah.
She drew some pretty amazing pieces of art one of which I wanted to take home and put on our wall, but she wanted to do it and put it on her wall instead. And so I just let her and pretty much just threw away my artwork at the end because it was more like stick figures.
I would have liked to have seen hers. I'm sure yours were great too. I think you're selling yourself a little short.
I mean, it was like a 6-year-old drawing with crayons on a piece of paper, but thank you for the compliment.
Yeah, absolutely. SLA hosted events are free of charge and will be exciting and fun for the whole family. Throughout the year, we host a variety of events: guided hikes, trail work days, nature-inspired art, and adventure ecology, just to name a few. These programs are open to anyone, and they cover a variety of topics that span across all sides of conservation and nature-related themes. The events and programs are presented by the Lakes Region Conservation Corps AmeriCorps members at the SLA. So come out, bring the family, support the SLA and the Squam Lakes watershed. For more information about all of our upcoming events and to register, go to www.squamlakes.org. So now we'll move into our Get to Know the SLA portion of the show. Episodes will feature different members of the SLA community. We'll ask them questions about what brought them here and why this area is so special to them. Today, for the first episode, we have a very special guest, Lakes Region Conservation Corps member Stevie Raymond. Stevie, thanks for being here. I appreciate your time.
Why, you're welcome. May I just add that you have to read so much information, and I've just been sitting here.
Well, you're playing a very important role, so I thank you. Let's get into it. Why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself, where you're from, where you went to school, and how you found the SLA.
Okay. Let me just
Strap in.
Yeah, just my seat for maximum storytelling. But I grew up in Claremont, New Hampshire, which is about 2 hours south, over by the Lakes region. I went to the University of Vermont, where I studied environmental studies and wildlife biology. But at first, I went in for bio, but then I quickly realized how much that I hate bio. So I'm glad I switched. And I'm just glad to have been part of that program because eventually it led me here to the SLA in the summer of 2016.
How did you find the SLA?
My advisor?
Yeah?
Yeah. I think I got an email from a job board from her.
Nice.
So I looked at it and said, hey, I want to work here.
So your first summer was in 2016, before the AmeriCorps program was at the SLA. And since then, you've held a variety of roles and you've had some different experiences here. And what keeps bringing you back?
You tell me. 2016, I was an intern for their summer program. Most of our efforts focused on removing milfoil from the lake with scuba diving. We also did some trail work and educational programs. Then fast forward to the summer of 2017, I was a recreation assistant in the boat rentals. And that was pretty much primarily focused on customer service, kind of getting people out on the lake, having them experience what the Squam Lakes region has to offer. And then this past summer, I did the same thing for about a month, which eventually led me to accepting the AmeriCorps position for the winter term for 2018 to 19. I guess I really like the area, you can say.
Yeah, it's a great area.
It is. But the thing that I like the most is, since I've been here so long, I've seen the organization switch from a summer program over to a year-long program. And we've always maintained a presence in the area throughout the year. But now we can do it with the force of that of the summertime, just because the summer is usually pretty busy. And then a lot of our staff goes home. So we're pretty limited through the rest of the year. But now we can kind of carry out the same amount of work, just, again, over the course of a year.
You kind of touched on it by saying the staff in the summer is typically larger. There's a lot more that can be done in the summer just because there's more people here. But with the expansion of the AmeriCorps program at the SLA and there being the LRCC members here year-round now, there is more opportunity in the wintertime to get projects and things done that there isn't time for in the summer. So what are some of the projects that you've worked on this winter and what have you been accomplishing?
I've had a few projects. I like to consider myself the backbone of this organization.
Stevie Backbone Raymond.
Self-proclaimed.
The third. Senior.
Easy there. I've been doing a lot of water quality stuff. As of right now, I'm overseeing all the data entry and quality control from the sampling and data that we collect when we go out on the lake to collect water samples. And then I'm also researching shoreline management and how we can monitor shallow water better because most of our efforts focus on deep water. And I'm also... What else am I doing? I'm doing a project with you.
Yeah.
Well, you're doing most of it. I'm just getting the data from the computer.
But that's an important role.
It is.
It's very important. I mean, I couldn't do it without you extracting that data from Access.
You can keep going with the compliments.
Well, what is that for?
What, the project we're doing together?
Yeah, what is it?
Extracting data from our water quality database so you can make certain graphs and figures of the temperature profiles and the dissolved oxygen readings from each depth that we test at our 11 or 12, 13 sites we do. I can't remember.
I don't remember the exact number.
But it's pretty great.
It is good. They look very nice. So something people might not know about you is that
I'm an Aries.
That you like movies. A pretty big film guy. Huge film guy. So what are some of your favorite movies, filmmakers, and some of your favorite score?
That's a great question.
I knew you'd like it.
I think for favorite scores, I mean, really any silent movie is pretty great.
They usually have the best soundtracks.
Yeah, they do. But Christopher Nolan is pretty great as well. I like all of his films and all of the music attached to him, mostly by Hans Zimmer. It's pretty great. Have you heard this Interstellar soundtrack?
Maybe like once or twice.
No, you've heard it a lot. I usually play it every day at the house.
If you played a fair amount.
Yeah, it's usually pretty stressful music, but I still like to play it. And other than that, I like a lot of older movies. Ghostbusters, the original. Spaceballs.
The classics.
Yeah, but I also like more recent ones. My favorites are Star Wars and The Lord of the Rings.
Those are good movies. I'm a big Star Wars fan too. And of course, Lord of the Rings. I mean, you played Shire music at Still Images on Squam, so...
I did.
I would hope you'd be a pretty big fan.
I'm an aficionado.
A what? Aficionado?
Where did we start? Like, where did we get to there?
So, thank you, Stevie, for your time. I really appreciate you coming out today and recording this episode with me.
You're welcome. I was a treat.
You were great.
You were all right. You're pretty good, too. I'm kidding.
Stop. You're going to make me blush.
You already are.
I know. Well, thank you all for listening to the first episode of What's Happening on Squam. We hope you enjoyed it. This podcast is a work in progress, so you can expect a second show within the next few weeks. Keep an eye on our social media pages, Squam Lakes Association on Facebook and at Squam Lakes Assoc on Instagram. You can also reach the show directly by sending an email to cole@squamlakes.org. Send me any questions or things you'd like to hear talked about on upcoming shows. For more information on anything we talked about or the SLA, visit our website, www.squamlakes.org. All this information and links to web pages previously mentioned are in the description of this episode, along with the link to the short survey. Please complete that for us. The feedback is very important.
Can I add something?
Sure.
I just did. Okay, back to you.
Well, the lake is calling, and we must go. Until next time.